Coming up, a record-breaking night for Juuse Saros, and Jack Eichel delivers in his return to the ice for Vegas. This is Locked On Game to Game NHL.
Every game, every team, every angle. Locked On Game to Game, your team every day.
Welcome in. You're listening to Locked On Game to Game NHL. Local experts joining us for the biggest stories on the ice. I am your host, Kainani Stevens. Thank you so much for making Locked On your first listen every weekday. Juuse Saros broke the Predators' franchise record with 64 saves last night en route to a win over the Hurricanes. Locked On Predators recaps an amazing performance from Nashville's goalie.
Tonight, the Nashville Predators beat the Carolina Hurricanes 5-3. And I only have 3 words to describe this game. Juuse freaking Saros. Hi, everyone. I'm Ann Kimball from Locked On Predators. Tonight was an incredible 60-minute performance from Juuse Saros, who spent much of this game under fire from the high-powered offense of the Carolina Hurricanes. Saros made a record-setting 64 saves. He faced 67 shots, but somehow kept Nashville in this game. The Predators got goals from Philip Forsberg, Matthias Ekholm, Cody Glass, and Mark Jankowski. Colton Sissons chipped in an empty net insurance goal to make the final score 5-3. But this night belongs to one man and one man only. That is Finnish netminder Juuse freaking Saros.
Washington continues to get it done on the road with an easy victory over the Blue Jackets last night by 6-2. Your final Locked On Capitals is in to go over why the Caps are looking so impressive away from home.
Washington Capitals beat the Blue Jackets by a score of 6-2. Hi, this is Dan Holme of Locked On Capitals with a 6-2 win tonight against Columbus. The Capitals won their 7th straight road game and established a new franchise record for the longest road winning streak. During the streak, which began on December 5th at Edmonton, Washington has outscored opponents 33-12. The Capitals had the offensive firing on all cylinders tonight as the Caps saw goals from Nicholas Abe-Kubel, Garnet Hathaway, 2 from TJ Oshie, and 1 from Martin Feravari. The Capitals also had great goaltending by Darcy Kemper, who saved 25 of 27. Keep it locked to Locked On Capitals, and I will keep you updated on all the news with your Washington Capitals. Locked On Capitals, your team every day.
The shorthanded St. Louis Blues had no trouble in New Jersey last night, taking down the Devils 5-3. Locked On Devils has more on what you need to know after the loss.
What's up? This is Trey Matthews of Locked On Devils, and here is my post-game reaction. So, the New Jersey Devils lost at home once again, this time losing to the St. Louis Blues by a score of 5-3. It's worth mentioning that the St. Louis Blues were without Vladimir Tarasenko and also Ryan O'Reilly. The last time the New Jersey Devils won at home, you would have to go back a full calendar month when they won against the Chicago Blackhawks on December 6th. This team's inability to win at home is quite frustrating, and honestly, I think a line change is needed because Erik Haula cannot continue to play on the same line as Jack Hughes. He needs to go to the bottom 6. But the good news is that Andre Palat is finally back into the lineup. He is fully recovered from his groin injury, so we're going to see what Lindy Ruff does in the future. But for right now, the overall execution for New Jersey Devils needs to change, especially with the New York Rangers coming to town on Saturday. And the Metro is tight, just to add.
A huge outburst of goals in the second for the Flyers put things out of reach for the Coyotes on Thursday night. Locked On Flyers has more on the impressive offense in Philly.
Russ Cohen here for Locked On Flyers podcast. Flyers took out the Arizona Coyotes 6-2. Morgan Frost had a 4-point game, I believe the first of his career. You had 3-point efforts from Kevin Hayes, Travis Konechny, big win from Carter Hart, back off the IR, very successful game. Arizona is a bad road team, like they just are a bad road team, but the Flyers did play with a lot of confidence, had a lot of shots, controlled the puck. It was a very good effort by them from start to finish, one of their more complete games this year, and not much else to say. Defense was pretty good. Wasn't a perfect game. I'm sure John Tortorella will find something to work on. But again, even Kevin Hayes scored in this one. Big 6-2 win for the Flyers. Listen to the podcast.
Coming up, Jack Eichel back from injury, looking better than ever. This is Locked On Game to Game NHL. Today's edition of Locked On Game to Game is brought to you by Built Bar. They are the best tasting protein bars on the market. They are made with 100% real chocolate. They come in dozens of different flavors. And while they're high in protein, they're low in fat, low in sugar, and low in carbs. If you head over to Built.com, you can use our promo code LOCKED15. It gets you 15% off of your order. So just head over to Built.com and put in LOCKED15 to get 15% off of your order. Welcome back to Locked On Game to Game NHL. I'm your host, Kainani Stevens. Thank you once again for making Locked On your first listen every weekday. Jack Eichel returned to the ice in fine form after missing 11 games due to injury. His 3-point night gave Vegas more than enough to get the win over the Penguins. Locked On Golden Knights checks in post-game.
The Golden Knights win 5-2 against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Hey everybody, Chris Golick here, Locked On Vegas Golden Knights. A very solid 60-minute effort by the Vegas Golden Knights, who came out to a 3-0 lead in the first, weathered the storm in the second, got a late goal for a 4-0 lead. Game ends up 5-2, no problems there whatsoever. Adin Hill had a very good game, and I'll say this again, this might have been one of the best 60-minute performances that I have seen from this team. Jack Eichel, Paul Cotter play a big role in the victory. So much more to talk about on Friday, Locked On Vegas Golden Knights. All right, folks, please check out Locked On Vegas Golden Knights for everything Vegas Golden Knights hockey. Your team every day.
A big night from Leon Draisaitl helped the Oilers take care of the Islanders and stop their 5-game losing streak at home in the process. Locked On Islanders and Locked On Oilers give us all of the details.
Another slow start dooms the Islanders. Gil Martin of Locked On Islanders here. Isles fall to the Edmonton Oilers in Edmonton 4-2. Outshot 17-4 in the first period, trailing 2-0, and the game was never really in doubt after that slow start. Unfortunately for the New York Islanders, these slow starts are becoming commonplace, and when you're playing an explosive team like the Edmonton Oilers and a talented team like the Edmonton Oilers, the two things you can't do, you can't take a lot of penalties because their power play is so dangerous, and you can't fall behind early. Unfortunately, the Islanders did both of those things in this game, and it ends up costing them. Islanders don't have a lot of time to wait. They have to face the Calgary Flames Friday night in Calgary to wrap up this road trip, and they certainly need a faster start and a better effort in that game. For more, listen to and watch the Locked On Islanders podcast with me, Gil Martin, wherever you get your podcasts.
The Edmonton Oilers end the slide at home as they beat the New York Islanders on home ice. Hi, my name is Brett Holden from Locked On Oilers, and despite coming into this game with a 5-game losing streak at Rogers Place, the Edmonton Oilers beat Ilya Sorokin and the New York Islanders 4-2 at home. Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl reaching a couple of milestones in this one, as Leon Draisaitl getting his 400th career NHL assist and Connor McDavid getting his 500th career NHL assist. Connor's coming on Kyler Yamamoto's short-handed goal on the game as he scores his 3rd goal of the season, and Leon Draisaitl getting his 400th assist on Zach Hyman's insurance goal, the 4th goal of the game, as the game winner would actually go to a guy who scored his 2nd goal in his NHL career. Dylan Holloway beating Sorokin from just inside the blue line, and that is all the Edmonton Oilers would need in this one. Jack Campbell stopping 20 of 22, fired his way in this one, getting his first win since November. The Edmonton Oilers improved to 21-17-2 on the year, and they look to improve on that record when the Colorado Avalanche come into town in a rematch from the Western Conference Finals from last year on Hockey Night in Canada.
A tight contest between Seattle and Toronto ultimately got out of hand in the second period thanks to an offensive outburst by the Kraken. Locked On Maple Leafs and Locked On Kraken are in for the recap.
A great night for Canadian hockey fans, and unfortunately disastrous evening for the Toronto Maple Leafs, who lost 5-1 to the Seattle Kraken. Yes, you heard me right. 5-1 was the final in this one. The Leafs and Kraken looked like they were in for a pretty spirited affair after the first period, where the Leafs looked dominant. They were controlling most of the play. Then the second period happened, where the Leafs allowed 4 goals to the Kraken. They were outscored 4-1 in the period en route to their 5-1 loss. Matt Murray did not have a great night in net, allowing 5 goals on 26 shots in this one. This coming after Ilya Samsonov had his own struggles against the St. Louis Blues. The Leafs now dropped 2 straight, allowing a combined 11 goals in those games. Mitch Marner inching closer to that 500-point mark. Unfortunately, the Leafs are going to have to figure out things on the other end of play as they are continuing to get exposed defensively. But it wasn't all bad news for Canadian hockey fans as Team Canada came away with the overtime win over Czechia. A great night over in Halifax. The fans were unbelievable as Team Canada notches a second straight gold medal at the World Junior Hockey Championship. We'll discuss all that and more on this edition of Locked On Leafs.
Is it time to start calling us the Road Warriors? My name is Erica El Ayala. I'm your host of Locked On Kraken, and I'm coming to you right after the Seattle Kraken get a 5-1 victory over Toronto on the road. Seattle was outshot 10-3 in the first period, but kept the Maple Leafs off the board, scoreless first period, and then Ellie Tolvanen opens the account for the Seattle Kraken with the first goal of the game, and then we just got it going from there. Matty Beniers gets on the board. Vince Dunn gets on the board. Speaking of Matty Beniers, it was announced during this game that he will be the representative of the Seattle Kraken, the rookie making, of course, his first All-Star appearance, and we'll get more into fan voting and all of that, so make sure you are listening to Locked On Kraken.
That's going to do it for this edition of Locked On Game to Game NHL. Thank you once again for making Locked On your first listen every single weekday. Now make sure you are subscribed to Locked On NHL and your favorite team's Locked On podcast here on YouTube and wherever else you get your podcasts from. I'm Kanani Stevens. This has been Locked On Game to Game.